Some cruelty never raises its voice. It doesn't shout. It doesn't slam doors. It doesn't leave bruises you can point to. It just shows up every single morning, in a look, in a tone, in a small comment that was designed to remind you of one thing: you don't belong here. Sophia lived inside that kind of cruelty for 7 years. She never fought back, never complained, never once told her husband how bad it really was. And the woman who made her life a quiet hell, she died asking for Sophia's forgiveness. This is the story of what happened between those two moments and the diary that changed everything. When Sophia married James, she didn't just marry a man, she married a household, a history, and a mother who had already decided the outcome before Sophia even walked through the door. Eleanor, James's mother, was not a dramatic woman. She never threw plates, never screamed. She was far more dangerous than that. She was composed, controlled, and surgical in the way she made Sophia feel like a guest in her own home. It started on the very first week. Sophia had cooked dinner, spent 2 hours on it actually, and Eleanor sat down, took one bite, and said quietly, "James never used to eat this heavily. He has a sensitive stomach, you know. I suppose you'll learn." James smiled awkwardly and changed the subject. That was the first time. It was not the last. Over the months, the comments accumulated like dust. "That color doesn't suit you, Sophia. You laughed rather loudly at the neighbor's party, didn't you? I just hope James isn't taking on too much with the new household expenses." None of it was ever loud enough to call out. That was the genius of it. And James, loving, oblivious, conflict-allergic James, always had the same response. "She means well. She's just from a different generation. She'll come around." Sophia always nodded, always smiled, and always walked to another room before she let herself feel it. 7 years is a long time to keep a secret. And Sophia's secret was this: she was drowning, quietly, politely, with a smile on her face, but drowning. She had stopped inviting her own friends over because Eleanor made them feel unwelcome. She had stopped wearing the clothes she loved because of one too many sideways looks. She had slowly, without even fully realizing it, made herself smaller so there would be less of her to criticize. James saw the surface of things. He saw that Sophia seemed quieter lately, more tired, but he told himself it was life, work stress, adjustment, the normal friction of a shared household. He told himself this right until the night he found her sitting on the kitchen floor at midnight. She wasn't crying loudly. She wasn't broken down. She was just sitting there, back against the cabinet, knees pulled up, eyes staring at nothing. He sat down next to her on the cold tile floor without saying anything. After a long silence, he asked, "How long has it been this hard?" She turned and looked at him, and the look on her face was not anger. It wasn't even sadness exactly. It was exhaustion, the kind that lives in your bones after years of holding something up that nobody else even knows you're carrying. She said, "I didn't want you to make a choice." James didn't sleep that night. 2 months after that night, Eleanor collapsed at home. It was her heart. The doctors were not optimistic. James was at the hospital every day. He sat with her, held her hand, brought her things she didn't ask for because he didn't know what else to do. And Sophia, the woman Eleanor had spent 7 years making her feel like an outsider, came too. Every single day. She brought food for James because she knew he forgot to eat when he was scared. She talked to the nurses with a calm that James couldn't manage. She sat in the waiting room for hours without being asked to stay. Eleanor watched this through the glass of her hospital room door. She watched it and she said nothing, but something behind her eyes changed. On the 5th day, when James came in alone, Eleanor reached slowly under her pillow. Her hands were weak, her voice was barely there, but her eyes were completely clear. She pulled out a small, worn leather diary and pressed it into James's hands.
Give this to Sophia, only Sophia. Before you read it yourself, give it to her first. Promise me." James promised. Eleanor closed her eyes. By the next morning, she was gone. James kept his promise. He gave the diary to Sophia without reading it first. He sat across the room and watched her open it. She read for a long time. The room was completely quiet. He watched her expression shift. Confusion first, then something slower and heavier settling in. He watched her stop at one page and stay there. She didn't move for almost 2 minutes. Later, much later, she showed him what was on that page. Eleanor had written, "I have been cruel to Sophia for reasons I am only now honest enough to name. She walked into this family and gave James something I spent 30 years trying to give him and never could. She gave him peace. She gave him softness. She gave him a version of home that I, with all my love and sacrifice, was never able to build for him. I told myself I disliked her. The truth is, I was terrified of her. Terrified that she had done in 1 year what I had failed to do in a lifetime. I punished her for my own failure. She never deserved a single day of it." Sophia closed the diary. She sat very still, and then she said the words that James would remember for the rest of his life. She was just afraid of being replaced. Not, "She was horrible." Not, "She ruined my life." Not, "I will never forgive her." Just, she was afraid. 3 weeks later, James noticed something on the dresser in their bedroom. A photograph, Eleanor, young, bright-eyed, holding James as a baby in a small silver frame. Sophia had put it there. He stood in front of it for a long time. Then he went to find Sophia and held her without saying a word. She didn't ask why. She already knew. Here is what I want you to understand about Sophia. She did not forgive Eleanor because Eleanor deserved it. She forgave her because carrying 7 years of pain into the rest of her life would have meant letting Eleanor take something more from her, and Sophia had already given enough. Some apologies come too late to fix anything, but they are still apologies. And sometimes, just sometimes, understanding why someone hurt you is the only closure you will ever get. It isn't everything, but it is something. And for Sophia, on that quiet afternoon with that photograph on the dresser, it was enough. Right now, somewhere, there is a Sophia absorbing things in silence because she loves her family too much to break it apart. There is an Eleanor lashing out from a fear she has never once said out loud. And there is a James seeing just enough to feel uncomfortable, but not enough to actually act. If this story stayed with you, if it reminded you of someone or made you see something differently, let me know in the comments. Tell me, which one of these 3 people are you? And if stories like this are what you come here for, subscribe, because there is a new one every single week.